So remember, they're changing my voice. Let me teach you a new word if you don't know it already. It's called dystopian. It's an imagined state or the reality of a society where there is great suffering or injustice. So what we see right now is a dystopian society in America, especially in California. And leading up to this, the last, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, where it became painfully obvious, depending on what you consider painfully obvious, that California is poorly governed, the mental health system is for profit and out of control, and so on and so forth, right? I think everyone can agree on that by now because we've thrown a lot of money behind this mental health stuff, and the crime has just gone up. People's behavior is just crazier than ever, okay? They've shown an appalling lack of understanding human behavior. And it's obvious that the law enforcement collaborates, with the 5150 law and so on and so forth, with the mental health system. And it's just gotten worse. They're just launching psychological operations. They've released gang members and so on and so forth. Instead of giving them a moral and sound job, the job that is, tailored for people who think differently than the traditional, the people who are successful in the traditional school system, right? That's the majority of gang members, I would argue. They didn't do that. Instead, they said, help us with these psychological operations. And they put them at odds with very angry political dissidents and people. Some of these people have mental health issues. Depending on how you define it, damn near everyone has a mental health issue. I mean, life is stressful. Life is hard. There's background stressors. There's triggers, even if you don't have a mental illness, quote unquote, right? You can still get triggered by someone talking about, your dead family member, your dead dog, your failure in your career, your coworker, they're thinking they're better than that person, whatever their pet peeve or trigger might be. It's not a coincidence the word trigger rhymes with the N-word, okay? And they used to try to trigger black people and get them to act up, and then they would hunt them down and kill them. A lot of the Klan were violently racist. Some were just more mildly racist and wanted to keep the racist white power structure in order, which is despicable and a pathetic goal. Makes it so I'm not proud to be part white because too many white people were involved as they are now. Okay, now it's every racist failure. I want to be clear on that. Okay, but this is a dystopian society where it is despicable to just join a group of people and say, hey, I'm the typical person who's a cop or a gang member or a social club person or a Christian or a Muslim or Jew. The typical of every group in America and basically on the planet is a catastrophic failure, a failure to stand for what is right. Mental health, okay, and normal, okay, and morality, okay, these ideas, these words, these concepts are connected. The word normal is an anagram for the letter N and the word moral. If you're not moral with a universal scale, not moral relative to Nazi Germany, communist Russia, communist North Korea, or crony capitalist dog eat dog, for profit, for sexual control, Sin City, rotten apple, okay, LA crime rate, LA traffic, pissed off, nutcase America, where there's a lot of gangs and gang members called Nutcase Gang and Looney Gang and Lunatic and Loco, where there's a lot of names like this as a result of the crazies in charge creating a sort of labyrinth, a psychological construct that pushes you over the edge. So I'm going to be mad at everybody. And I'm going to have those moments where I say, hey, I'm mad at this group right now because they just did something that caused me cognitive damage, or they just fumed me, or they poisoned me, or they're gang stalked me. That's going to happen. And I'm going to rule on behalf of God in a way that's uncomfortable and at times angry. And I'm going to put God's authority above the state's authority. That is normal. That's called being moral. When you don't have a more moral argument for the idea that the first thing had to be powerful enough to create itself, God, I mean, you have watches, you have clocks, don't you? You have the concept of time, and they haven't come up with any logical sound argument as to why time doesn't exist and there doesn't have to be a first thing. That has never been addressed by agnostics, atheists, or anyone else. So therefore, the moral thing to do is to go with the logical assumption, if you're an agnostic, that there is a God. I'm not an agnostic. I'm very much a zealous theist. Zealous. I'm fervent. I'm dedicated to God and to the idea that there's a God. Okay. So that's what's going to happen. I will promise you that I judge people according to their deeds. If I seem harsh at a time, I will correct it. But I will always assign respect and punishment where it belongs. Okay? There is no more being fair than that. If you had a martial art teacher, for example, you would want this person to treat you fairly and to tell you the truth, right? The way, the truth, and the life, and to give you the advice and the chastisement that you need to be a better person. Okay, that is the best you can ask from somebody, from a leader, from a teacher, a mentor, a friend, a fellow citizen. That is the best that you can ask, that you can expect. And so I don't have anything to be ashamed of, anything to, anything to regret, really. I have no regrets, really. Just minor mistakes that if you push me about it, that's going to piss me off, okay? But it's just a minor mistake. Now, people want me to pretend to be ill, okay, which is sick, okay? Would you pretend to be ill instead of help your child? If your child was hanging off a cliff? What about when 9 million people starve to death a year and 3 million of them are children? That's 10,000 children a day. Is the answer for the most righteous person to pretend to be ill? The people who want that are sick. They're better off wanting to throw their kids in a meat grinder by far, than to want for me to pretend to be ill. Think about it. Do a comparison. Write down the implications of both and what it means and what it costs society in the bigger picture. What it means. What the sin is. The magnitude of the sin. The degree. Do the comparison. Okay. And I am a warrior. So at times when people, they provoke me in a way that at times, in a sense, they're almost in a weird sense of the word gracious, but they're not, right? Because it's a continued provocation. They provoke me like just a little bit less than you would expect for someone to lash out and over a long period of time. And I've shown a very admirable degree of self-restraint, self-control that goes beyond other people. Okay, right now I'm not on parole. I'm not, I don't have any cases pending. I'm not on the way to the psych ward. I have no reason to lie about these things. If I had a problem with self-control, I would tell you. I do not have any problem with self-control. I see people going in and out of jail all the time, people cheating on their wives, and they don't work out when they're supposed to. Even as somebody with back pains who's crippled, I work out whenever, I do push-ups whenever my back is not completely messed up, when I'm not so crippled and fumed and dizzy that I can't. Okay, I do it consistently with a certain discipline, and it goes back years and years and years. With a certain discipline, I continue to make videos and upload them and continue to avoid conflict while being fumed and provoked, while I talk about the most infuriating issues known to man. Mass rape, mass murder, idolatry, rebellion against God, the most infuriating issues. Scientific racism, being shunned by hot chicks while they sleep with kids, while they have trains run on them, while they help rapists turn out chicks, and so on and on and on and on. The word normal again. Write it down so you truly grasp this concept. It is vital, because there's a lot of social norm fanatics who do it they're basically they're moral relativists, right? Because the word moral is in the word normal, right? The letter N for and or an, moral. Okay? So they do it relative to the society they're in, just like psychiatry. Did you know psychiatrists drug people relative to the social norms of the society they're in? If you were in communist Russia, the psychiatrists there drug you for different reasons than if you're in capitalist America. The ones in North Korea, the ones in the Middle East, they have different scales for when they drug, and it's absolutely aimed at political dissidents. It is a crime against humanity to such an extreme degree to turn a blind eye to the fact that psychiatrists don't have a universal scale, that pharmaceutical companies are allowed to run wild. There's millions of Americans that have gone on and on, maybe not on and on, but have mentioned fairly frequently that big pharma is out of control, but yet it's still out of control. Millions of Americans have argued that racism is out of control, yet it's still out of control. Countless Californians and people from other states have argued the crime rate here is out of control, yet it's still out of control. So I can't respect when people cling to the social norms that have created this situation. When they cling to that selfishness, they say, well, I have a nice little bubble community over here in Morgan Hill or Palo Alto. That's cowardly. It's sick. This is supposed to be the land of the free, the home of the brave, not the home of the, dog-eat-dog cowards who just pile up a bunch of bones and hump everyone they're allowed to, where they have to coerce them or force them or drug them or come together and collectively coerce them or whatever. It is sick. Few things, I remember this one TV show that said, that rape is a very heinous, the word they used was heinous crime, disgusting, disturbing, disconcerting, unsettling, very extremely unnerving. One of the most heinous crimes, if not the most heinous crime, are sex crimes. 1 in 4 women females before the age of 18 is sexually molested. Some of them are like 4 years old. Okay? Can you imagine the extreme sickness in this massive, the massive demographics of pedophiles in this society? That's sick. To go against me because you don't like that I say I'm Christ or the top martial arts, or because I argue moral precision instead of the state's philosophies, is sick too. How are you going to leave them alone and team up with them to go after the most moral person ever? Okay, you think that's the way for your family? You know, that's sad. You think that's the way to be right with God? That's sad. You think Jesus was a compromised person instead of saying the way, the truth, and the life and dying on the cross? That's sad. You think John the Baptist, played nice with Herod and his family? That's sad. He told his whole family that they were doing the wrong thing till his whole family was mad at him and insisted that he got his head chopped off. If you think that you're bad if you're on the Herod side of the, if you're on the Herod side, and Herodias, his wife and daughter, if you think you're bad if you're on their side of the argument, then that's sad. That's sick. You know what I'm saying? And people should stand for what's right instead of provoking me because I'm standing for what's right, because I'm Mr. Right, on the right path, doing the right thing in his right mind, making the right points, making the right arguments, insisting the right way. And when they fume and poison me, it's like I'm running a mile with a 50-pound weight. Yes, that factors in. And if you're judging my behavior by the empirical evidence, the evidence that you observe, okay, then you have to factor in the fact that I'm provoked with over 22, maybe 23 witnesses on record now. Okay? And that's the ones who are on record. Countless other people know damn well I'm telling the truth because they're the ones doing it. Straightforward. And it's sad, because a lot of times, I chastise, my harshest words are said off camera. Okay? By far. But that's because I'm pissed off, and also I have to refrain when I'm when I'm recording. I can't go on and on about, I can't say things that refer to violence too much. Okay, so that it builds up in you, right? Now, medication is not the answer. Okay, that's like someone's raping your kid and they're like, well, try medication. Oh no, I'm not gonna stop insisting that they stop. So you're locked up and you can't force them and you're fighting with the words. Okay? And they say, well, try meditation. No, fuck all that. I'm gonna keep trying to make them stop. And that's the situation here. A bunch of bootlicking cowards, whether they're representing Buddhism and things like that fairly or not, okay, insisting, oh, just meditate like some kind of sissy. And a bunch of bootlicking cowards, like, no, take my drugs. It's a bunch of rich, big pharma, drugging the kids scum. When hundreds of thousands of people die from prescription medications every year. Okay, people get old and they slip and they fall and they die. Okay, they basically told me that my grandma was going to die. They said, talk to your grandma through their network. I have a feeling something's going to happen to her. Then she slips around the time I'm talking about people slipping and dying, hitting their head, because the Swedish psychiatrist, I believe it is, he said that that's one of the ways that antidepressants kill people. Then she slips in the shower and hits her head and dies. Now, if I could rewind time, would I stop making my videos? No fucking way, not a chance. Because I put God Almighty before everybody who ever lived, including family. And I can't respect anyone who hesitates to join me because they're afraid that their family's gonna be hurt. That's some bitch shit. Okay? And I can't respect anybody who, if they were in my shoes, would turn back the clock and not make videos to keep their family members alive, especially older family members. We die anyway. Okay? If I had a young child, if I had 10 kids and they were all gonna die if I did the right thing, I'd do the right thing anyway. See Job. See Abraham and Isaac. See Matthew 10. It's something the Bible discusses again and again. When the Israelites go to war, you think they didn't lose family members? Look at the story of Abner, 1st and 2nd Samuel. Abner and Joab and so on and so forth. One of these guys was mad because another one of these guys, I believe he was on King David's side, had killed his brother. And then in an underhanded way, he gets revenge. Okay? People knew when they went to battle that their family members were likely to die. They'd be shocked if some of them didn't, kind of thing. That is no excuse for rebellion against God.